Morning everyone, we're going to start lying down today. So in our semi-supine position, so take a moment to get comfy. Before you come all the way down, just check your toes are pointing forwards. Your feet are about hip distance apart. And then take your back down to the floor, the mat, wherever you're practicing this morning. You can have your hands on your belly to begin with. And just take a moment to find that comfortable position. You might want to wiggle the feet forward just a touch, or bring them back in towards the glutes. Just taking that moment to settle. And closing down the eyes when you're ready. So closing the eyes to bring everything inwards. And once we take that sense, the sense of sight away, we tend to be able to connect inwards and to the breath a little easier. If you can this morning, breathing in and out through the nose. And just starting to check in with the body and the breath, noticing anything that feels tight or sore or is holding any tension. And noticing the quality of your breath. Does it feel a little shallow? Is it high up in the chest area? Maybe it already feels long. So starting to visualize the breath reaching any tightness in the body, any tension in the body, to soften those areas. And directing the breath into the belly this morning. So with the hands on the belly, you'll be able to feel the breath and the belly rising and falling. And using our visualization of filling a glass full of water, we're filling the torso with the breath, filling the belly, the lungs, all the way up to the upper chest, so just below the collarbones, and you may feel the shoulders rising, falling just a touch. If the mind wanders, coming back to the breath, using the breath as that anchor. Following the breath. And notice if anything has changed just in those 2 or 3 minutes of breathing, conscious breathing. Has the breath become a little lighter, a little softer, maybe a little longer? And we'll come to a Samavitri breath, our sort of equal part breath, breathing in for the same count as you breathe out. And I'll leave you to count your own breath in and out as we've all got very different breathing rates, breathing ratios. Maybe you're counting in your head. Maybe you can use your fingertips gently pressing into your belly. If it doesn't feel right this morning to do some of each breath, just letting it go, coming back to following the breath. If it's coming relatively easily, maybe you would like to try extending the exhalation just for a count or two. So breathing in and breathing out just for a moment longer. Staying with this breath throughout the class, this slow, conscious breathing. Again, using it as the anchor, but also as a way to gauge how far you go into the yoga poses. So if the breath becomes laboured or short, just taking yourself back a notch out of the pose. Remembering sthira and sukha, steadiness and ease, so finding that balance between the breath and the body. Gently bring the right knee in, give the right knee a hug. Just warming up the hips here in the hip flexors, circling the right ankle. 4 or 5 circles in one direction, 4 or 5 circles in the other. And then holding the right knee with the right hand, gently taking it out to the right hand side. So just creating a little bit of openness in the pelvic area. Breathing, directing the breath to any tightness. And gently bringing that knee back to center and dropping the foot down. We'll do exactly the same thing on the other side. So hugging in the left knee. Noticing the difference on this side. It might feel a bit tighter, a bit softer. And taking the left knee with the left hand and taking the left knee out to the left hand side. So again, creating that openness around the pelvis. Ensuring the right knee is still pointing up to the ceiling. And then coming back up to center, popping that foot down. We're going to come into the supine Baddha Konasana, bound ankle pose. We're going to bring the feet, the soles of the feet together. The hands can stay on the belly, and the knees are going to fall out to the side. Now, the further the heels are away from the body, the more support your lower back, the lumbar spine will have. If you bring the heels right in, the soles of the feet together, there'll be more of an arch in the lower back. So just taking your time to play with that for a moment, work out where it feels the most comfortable and the most at ease.
And allowing the knees to flop out to the side, so allowing them and giving them that permission to do that. Taking 3 more breaths here. So the belly's a little restricted here with that stretch and movement of the hip flexors. So breathing into the lungs, expanding the rib cage. And we're going to start taking the arms back. So have a soft elbows, so a slight bend in the elbows. We're going to breathe in to take the arms back. And breathe out to bring the arms forward. So just waking up the shoulders this morning. And the hands can come back towards the belly or down to the side of the body onto the mat or the floor. So working with your breath. And trying to make the movement last as long as the inhalation or exhalation. So inhaling to take the arms back behind you and exhaling to bring them back down the sides of your body with the hands to the belly. Doing 3 more in your own time. And when you've done those 3, bringing the knees back to center and giving the knees a hug. And then we'll come back to that semi-supine position. So the knees are bent and the feet are parallel, roughly hip distance apart. We're just going to stretch through the hamstrings. So we're going to take a hand grip or a grasp under the right knee. So that's a good place to have the hands. If you've got a belt, you can use a belt on the sole or the ball of the foot. And from here, you can reach up. So the hands are supporting the leg. Maybe there's a slight bend in the knee to begin with. With a little bit less movement at the moment, especially because it's the morning. You might find the muscles that make up the hamstrings a little tight. Reaching through the heels, maybe straightening the length of the leg a little bit more. Really working with the breath here, especially if it's very tight. You're imagining that right foot is flat on the floor, or the ceiling in this case. And knowing it's safe to really straighten the leg here if you want to, or if you're able to. The knee isn't weight bearing in this position, so it's in quite a safe position. And then from here, we're going to take that leg across the body. So just bringing it in towards the left-hand side, just a touch. Having the hands there to support the leg. Just getting into the IT band here. Still reaching through the heel. Encouraging the pelvis to stay down, stay glued to the mat, the floor. Coming back up to center and letting that leg come down. And we'll do exactly the same thing on the other side. So taking clasp, maybe make it a slightly different clasp. So bringing the fingers down one slot behind that left leg. And reaching through the left heel, encouraging the shoulders to be soft. There's a tendency to hold the shoulders up towards the ears. Just drop the shoulders down and reaching through that left heel. Again, noticing if this side's a little bit tighter. Reaching through the heel a little bit further, working with the breath. So finding that balance between sthira and sukha. So increasing the stretch, lengthening the hamstrings, but also being able to breathe fully. From here, we're going to take the foot across the body. So the left foot is coming towards the right hand side across the body, encouraging the pelvis to stay grounded. It's almost like you're sinking that left leg back into its hip socket. One more breath here. Coming back up to center and dropping that knee down. We'll roll onto our side and gently come up to a box position. We'll start with actually extended child's pose. So big toes are together, knees are wide apart. We made that V shape with our bodies and we're creeping the hands forwards. If you do have a prop, like a rolled up blanket or a block or something, and you know you want it or you need it for the forehead, you can pop it just in front here. The forehead can rest on it. I will just demonstrate. It can be a big book or an encyclopedia if you still have one of those. So the forehead's down here. If you know you're able to reach the floor, coming all the way down. Ensuring the fingers, the hands are shoulder width apart, so there's quite a bit of a gap. Checking with the middle fingers pointing forwards. And we're encouraging the glutes to stay glued to the ankles, sorry, to the heels here. So if you push gently into the fingertips, wherever you are, you'll notice the glutes sit down a little bit further onto the heels. Know that you can have padding under the knees, or if the knees are particularly fragile this morning, having a rolled up blanket or block just tucked in under the knees can help as well. We're going to take our hands over to the left hand side, so gently padding towards the left. Come into the side stretch. You're going to feel a stretch across or along the right hand side of the body. And you can make this as strong or as gentle as you want to this morning. If you want to wiggle your fingers forwards a little bit, you'll increase the stretch. Just know if you feel you've gone too far, you can take it back a notch. Keep the gaze to the mat, to the floor. And we're coming back through center and over to the right hand side. So again, maybe creeping the left hand, the left fingers forwards just a little bit to increase the stretch down the left hand side of the body. Encouraging the glutes still to stay down. And then slowly coming back to center. We're going to come on into a little balance on tiptoes now. So another little toe stretch I've come up with, quite good for the toes. So you'll see I'm in a sort of squat position, my knees are together, I'm balancing my toes, my heels are up. You can have sort of spider finger hands, or have the hands flat, or make fists if that feels better. We're going to just hang here for a moment. If you're feeling quite steady this morning, you can come up to sitting and create stronger balance here. Belly button to spine may help, Mula Bandha, that pelvic floor lift. Remembering our drishti point, looking at something really still to help focus with the balance. And then we're going to reach up. So we're reaching up with the fingertips, shoulders away from ears. It will change the balance just a little bit. Breathing, trying not to hold the breath. And then from here, if you feel able to do so, we're going to push through the toes to come up to standing. So pushing through the toes to come up to a standing balance, and then allowing the arms, the heels, to come back down. It's quite strong on the quads, that. It's a nice, safe way to come up.
We're coming to our mountain pose and a couple of side stretches. So the toes are pointing forwards, the feet are about hip distance apart. So think about those frontal hip bones, the iliac crests, just here. So we're looking at the big toes, almost directly underneath those. Lifting the toes up, spreading them out. But really stable base here, and standing really tall. We're going to breathe in and reach up. Palms are facing inwards. And then on the next exhalation, we're going over to the right hand side. So just take time to come over to the right. We're trying to keep the weight distribution in both feet equal. So take a moment to check in with that. And just a very slight softness in the knees, especially if you know you're hypermobile. Coming back up to centre, and then going over to the left hand side. Reaching all the way through the side of the body. Breathing through this. The arms may be getting tired now. 2 more breaths here. Coming back up and gently bringing the hands down. We're going to move our hips in a figure of 8. So again, still in that same position, that mountain pose, Tadasana. Toes are pointing forwards. Elbows or hands on hips, and really bend into the knees. So I'm coming around, just gently making some figure of 8s here. You can start to bring shoulders in a little, if you want to, wrists. But we're really working here with the hips. If you've been sitting a lot, this will hopefully soften any tightness out. And then coming back to standing. I want us to come into a balance, and then we'll come into a couple of very simple sun salutations. Instead of tree, we're going to do the sort of squatting balance version. I'll show you side on, and then I'll demonstrate face on. I'm going to plant a foot down, have a strong bend in that standing leg. Bring the other foot across, so the ankle is resting just above the knee, and then we'll come to here. And you might want to fold forwards a little bit. Sit back. So I'll demonstrate face on, but that's how that standing leg will look. We've really got to think about the quadriceps here and engaging with the quads to keep the knee really safe. So I often describe it as lifting up the kneecap, but it also can be just tightening the muscles here, so tensing those muscles there, and you'll feel a lift in the leg anyway. So to begin with, we'll start with the right foot down, spreading the toes, thinking about those 4 corners of the feet. So really solid or steady base, and then bend into that right leg. Have the shoulders soft, and then if you've got something nearby you want to hold on to, go for it. It might be a chair, sofa, wall, wherever you are. And then I'm going to bring my left foot, left ankle to rest on top of the right leg here. So it's just above the kneecap. Encouraging this left knee down. I'm sitting back a little. So you're going to feel this. Oh, I'm feeling a bit wobbly today. Feel this maybe in the hips. And then bringing the hands together at heart center. The shoulders away from ears. Take the gaze towards the floor. Something still that's not moving. Know that if you're really wobbly this morning, it's probably safer and more beneficial to hold on to something. That would be me then. You can still get the same stretch by holding on to something. Just takes the balance element out of it. Remembering to breathe. And then slowly coming up and coming out. Give the knees a little shake. And we'll do it all on the other side. So spreading the left toe, spreading the left foot. And again, thinking about the quadriceps here. So engaging those muscles, tensing the muscles above the knee. And then we're going to bring the right foot or right ankle over the left leg, over the left knee, so just above the left knee. Bend into that left leg. Hips, pelvis roughly level, shoulders are soft. I'm leaning forward, just touch, and sitting back to increase that stretch in the hip area. I'm wobbly on both sides this morning, so knowing again that one side will be easier than the other. Remembering the drishti point. Remembering to breathe. Keep those quadriceps engaged, protect the knee. And then slowly coming back up, standing. Give everything a little wiggle. Right, we've worked the legs quite hard already. I'm going to come to a very simple sun salutation this morning. Won't need anything. I will teach side on, so hopefully you can see me and demonstrate side on. Again, coming into mountain pose, and again, I'm going to have a bit of a gap between my feet here. So the big toes are roughly under my iliac crest, those pointy hip bones at the front of the pelvis. I'm going to have a softness in the knee, shoulders are down. I'm going to breathe in, reach up, and breathe out to fold forwards. So it's our first forward fold here. Take a moment, we're going to take a couple of breaths here. Make sure you haven't rocked into your toes, rocked into your heels. Again, that even weight distribution. Softness in the knees, allow the head and the neck to relax. So give the head a shake, a nod, and allow the hands to fall towards the mat. We're going to breathe in and come into flat back. So breathing in, taking the hands to the shin, shoulders away from ears. We're looking to the floor, our flat back. And breathing out, coming back into our forward fold. From here, we're stepping the right foot back. So again, take your time, bend into the knees, step the right foot back and drop the right knee. If you need to grab any padding for knees, then just pop it under there. Give yourself some cushioning. Take a moment to have a look at your left knee over left ankle. We want that to be really safe. So avoiding that overshooting of the knee, we're keeping the knee above the left ankle. From here, breathing in and coming up, hands on the hips. So maybe this morning this is enough, this is where you're going to stay. Otherwise, coming with me, breathing in, reaching up, palms are facing inwards. If the neck feels happy, you can look up towards the ceiling. Breathing into the rib cage, expanding the lungs. And then gently bringing the hands down to frame that left foot. We're going to step into plank. So tuck the right toes under and bring the left foot to meet the right. So maybe you're in a knee plank. So drop the knees, shoulders are away from ears. If you're on your toes, think about Mula Bandha, that uplift the pelvic floor, belly button to spine. Inner elbows are pointing inwards, and just check your hands are flat on the floor. The middle fingers are pointing forwards. And then we're tipping forward. It's a little like we're looking over a cliff, just to make it longer. From here, we drop the knees, drop the chest and the chin, and come into our baby cobra pose. Hands under shoulders, breathing in and taking the gaze forwards. So elbows tucked right in, elbows are hugging the rib cage, pelvis is heavy. And then gently coming back down. We're going to tuck into our downward facing dog. So hands are around the chest area, pushing back and coming into first downward facing dog. So making sure the hands are spread, the middle toes are pointing forwards. Sorry, middle fingers rather than toes. Have a look at the feet, are they hip distance apart? And maybe this is a dynamic one, so just bending into one leg at a time. We're not going to be holding this for too long, so we're going to encourage the right leg forward. So take your time, lifting the leg or stepping forwards and bringing the right foot forwards. And then we'll bring the left foot to become parallel with the right.
And we're in our forward fold again. Again, have a softness in the knees, reaching up to the ceiling with the sitting bones. Allow the head and neck to relax. Still find that length in the hamstrings. Bending into the knees, pushing through the feet to reach up through the hands and breathing out, coming back down to Tadasana. I'll demonstrate on the other side. Just going to swap sides on my mat. If you're wondering why I've got Mr. Crow with me, he's holding my microphone. So he's actually become very helpful while I've been doing online classes. Here. So coming up to the top of the mat, just making sure you've got enough room to step back again. Toes are pointing forwards, lifting the toes, spreading the toes. Bring the hands down by the sides of the body. Taking a moment, take a couple of breaths here. Just checking with the legs, the feet. Finding that stable mountain, stable balance. And remembering that sort of engagement of the inner thighs. It's almost like you're holding a block between the thighs. You're going to breathe in and reach up. Or breathe out and float forwards. Have a softness in the knees. On the next inhalation, bring the hands up to the shins, towards the knees, shoulders away from ears into our flat back position. And then as we exhale, we're folding forwards. This time the left foot goes back. So taking the left foot back, dropping that left knee, checking in with the right leg. So the right knee is over the right ankle. Breathing in, bringing the hands up to hips, to our pelvis. Finding our drishti point, finding something still to look at. And then if you're coming that little bit further, breathing in, reaching up through the hands. Encourage the shoulders away from the ears. And if your neck feels happy this morning, taking the gaze up to the ceiling. One more breath here. And then bring the hands down to frame that right foot. This is where we come into our plank pose. So tucking the left toes under, take your time to come into plank, either on toes or on knees. Either way, the hands are spread, the middle fingers are pointing forwards. Strong Mula Bandha. So bring the belly button to spine as well to support the lumbar spine. Inner elbows are pointing inwards, shoulders away from ears. Having a peek over the cliff. Lovely long length in the body. Dropping the knees, coming all the way down into our cobra pose. So hands under shoulders, elbows are tucked in, and looking ahead. Maybe you want to push up a little bit further for this one, but only if that feels okay for your lower back. Taking one more breath here. And on the exhalation, slowly lower yourself back down. We'll bring the hands back towards the chest, tuck the toes, and coming into our downward facing dog. So make any adjustments you need to once you're up. And maybe it feels good to keep it dynamic, so bending into one foot at a time, or one knee at a time. Pushing into the hands, find that length in the spine. Check the neck, the head, soft. Sitting bones reaching up for the ceiling. Inner elbows pointing inwards. Coming into stillness for one breath, if you can. And then from here, we're going to bring the left foot forward. So take your time to get there. Stepping forwards. Dropping that right knee. And bringing the right foot to become parallel with the left. We're in our forward fold again, Uttanasana. Allow the head, the neck to feel soft. Bending into the knees, we're going to push through the feet to reach all the way up to the ceiling. And breathing out to come all the way back down again. Give everything a shake and a roll. Quite strong for morning practice. even though it was gentle sun salutation.
I want us to come into triangle this morning as well. So I'm going to open the chest, really allow some more space for the breath. Have a little think about your stance. It can be really quite narrow triangle. You're going to get the same benefits. It can be a little bit wider. It's never longer, or the stance is never longer or wider than the length of your neck. So from the hip to the ankle. So have a little think about that. Standing with the toes pointing forwards to begin with, just finding that steady stance. And then we'll turn our left toes out to begin with. So the left toes pointing out 90 degrees there, and then I'm tapping the right toes in just a touch. So it's a 30 to 45 degree angle in my toes there. From here, I'm encouraging my hips to face forwards. So it will naturally be this right hip is still coming forwards a bit, so I'm not trying to force it. I'm just encouraging them around, encouraging them to be roughly level. Thinking again about the quads here, so really lifting it's the vastus medialis muscles, so lifting that kneecap, really engaging here, keeping the knee really safe. Breathing in, floating the arms up. Imagining somebody is pulling you in both directions, so reaching as far as you can, and just checking in with the hands, their shoulder height. And then we'll breathe in again. Breathe out, reaching over that left leg. Again, it doesn't matter where you come to, the palms are facing away from you. So probably facing me, if you set up like that at home. And you can look towards the toes, look towards me, or look up to the ceiling. So just work with how your neck is today, keeping those quad muscles engaged, or keeping that left knee safe. Breathing here. Thinking about the weight distribution between the legs. We'll drop that top arm, bend into the left knee, and push up to stand. Give the knees a little wiggle if you need to, and then we'll go over to the other side. So this time, right toes are pointing out, left toes are coming in. So quite a lot of think about that alignment, which I forgot to mention the first side. The front heel is in line with the back instep. We're encouraging the hips round, shoulders soft, encouraging these quads to engage. It's quite a big change. As soon as I make these quads work, there's almost a slight rotation there in the thigh. Reaching up through the fingers. We'll breathe in, breathe out, come over the right leg. Palms are facing me or facing away from the body. And the gaze can be towards the toes, straight ahead, or up to the ceiling. So you imagine you've got this long line between the two fingertips, the two hands. Creating space, encouraging that left hip back. From here, we'll drop the top arm, bend into the right knee, and push up to come up safely. I thought we'd do our goddess poses this morning, set us up for the day. There's a slightly wider stance, and the toes are at 45 degrees-ish, anyway. And try to encourage the knees here, just demonstrating them collapsing in. We're trying to encourage them to stay back. Maybe you're here, maybe you're a little bit lower. Just work with where you can this morning. Really pushing into the feet, we're into a stable goddess. Palms are facing front. Breathing here. We're going to do some movement. So we're going to breathe in to slowly come up. And breathe out to sink back down. Breathing in to come up. Breathing out. Come back down. I'll leave you to work with your own breath as I talk through this. I've been doing this quite a lot recently in chair pose, strengthening the thigh muscles. But the stronger the muscles of the thigh and the thighs, the more support we've got for our knees in particular. And as you know, pretty paranoid about the safety of knees. So just creating that strength in the body to support the joints. Last one, sinking down, maybe sinking down a little bit further, and if you can, holding it for 3 breaths, encouraging the knees back. Last breath. And slowly coming up. Now the hands can go. Again, give everything a bit of a shake. Strong thighs, that one. We're going to start slowly coming down to sitting, but I'd like us to do a twist first. So we're going to come into Sphinx pose. We've already done some lumbar spine work, particularly with Cobra. Sphinx, taking the feet out here. And the elbows are under the shoulders. So I've got that line there. Hands, palms flat on the floor. Shoulders away from ears. So as soon as I draw up the shoulders down, my shoulder blades draw down my back, and you'll see I've got a lift from here to here. So I'm pushing into the hands at the same time in the elbows. Being wary of any injuries in the elbows, you can always have some extra padding there. We're going to slowly twist to one side. So the feet are relaxed, the tops of the feet are down. I'm in my Sphinx. I'm going to straighten the left arm and look over my left shoulder. So again, you can have a micro bend in the left arm if that feels more comfortable. We're encouraging the pelvis and the hips to stay down. So it's a twist in the upper body. Breathing here. And coming back to centre. And then we're going over to the other side. So we're pushing into the right hand, straightening the right hand, maybe having softness in the elbow if that feels better, and looking over the right shoulder. Allow the shoulder to drop, allow the pelvis to sink into the ground, into the mat. So it's really an upper body stretch. And slowly coming back round to centre. From here, we'll tuck back into child's pose, or a comfortable version of child's pose, whatever feels good. You can have the knees wide apart and the hands stacked to support the forehead or the knees together. But just creating that lumbar spine bend or curve in Sphinx. It can be quite strong on the lower back. So we call this a counter pose. Something just to bring some balance back into the body. So take a moment there. Allow the breath to slow. And take your time. We're going to come onto our backs and come into Apanasana. So as you come up, just taking your time. It's almost like the opposite of child's pose, the opposite of Balasana. We're coming into a tuck here. So the head is relaxed, the head is down, and I'm going to give the knees a hug. So it's very much like child's pose in the opposite direction. And this is just to relieve the lumbar spine a little more. You might want to make some circles. Just take a moment to massage the lower back. And then we'll bring our feet down to the mat. So we're back in that semi-supine position we were in to start with. And we're just gently going to do some pelvic tilts here. So the hands can be on the belly, or they can be palms down on the floor to give you a support. Just working out there where you prefer your hands. And then we're going to tip the tailbone up to the ceiling so the back pushes into the mat, into the floor. And then we're creating
that lumbar spine arch. So I'm pushing my glutes into the mat, and I've got more of an arch in my lumbar spine. So we're not lifting as such, we're just tilting. So this is lovely, just to bring some more length to the back after we've done a back bend through the sun salutations, through Sphinx. Gently doing 3 more tilts. And then allowing the back to settle. Now you can continue with the tilts, or you can come up into a general or gentle flowing bridge. I'm going to have my palms down on the mat. I'm going to breathe in and push through my feet to come up. I'm not coming up to the highest point, and then I'm breathing out to roll back down. Breathing in to slowly come up, push through the feet. And breathing out to roll back down. So not going to your nth degree, we're just keeping this gentle, encouraging the knees to stay where they are. Maybe imagining you've got a balloon or a couple of blocks between the knees to keep them nice and stable. If it becomes too much at any point, just coming back to the pelvic tilts. We're going to do 2 more like this, so breathing in to come up and breathing out to come down. Or 1 more. And then we've got the option to go up and stay there. So I know that doesn't suit everybody, so you could either come back to the pelvic tilts or do another 2 or 3 rolls up and rolls down. If you're coming with me, really encouraging the knees to stay where they are. It's like you're gripping that balloon or that block. Toes are pointing forward, so I'm going to breathe in and I'm going to come up and I'm staying there. Maybe tucking the shoulders just a little. You might want to clasp the hands under your back. It's just an option. So the legs are engaged, the quads are engaged. Breathing into the ribcage, you're expanding the ribcage as the belly's restricted. Keeping that weight distribution of the feet even. And then gently unhooking that clasp if you came to that point, dropping down and bringing the knees in for a hug. So bridge pose or any inversions, very good for boosting the immune system. So I know sometimes in class we do that with a few blocks underneath the pelvis, which feels really nice, supported version. So if you've got enough books at home, you can give that a go. We're going to do our spinal twist. So bringing the hands out to the shoulder height and taking the knees down to the right hand side. So really allow the knees, the feet, the ankles to be resting on the floor, so supported. If you've got a rolled up blanket or something nearby as a prop, you can always wedge it under the right knee to give you a little bit more support. Now naturally the left shoulder comes up off the floor. We want to encourage that down. And then take the gaze up to the ceiling, but if you want a stronger twist, taking the gaze in the opposite direction to the knees. Coming back up to centre, taking your time and bringing the knees down to the left hand side. Again, making sure they hit the floor, the mat, so they are supported. The right shoulder will naturally lift, so we're just encouraging that right shoulder down. And then either taking the gaze up to the ceiling or over the right shoulder. gently bringing the knees back up and giving them one last hug. So we're going to start getting ready for relaxation, just a few minutes of relaxation or shavasana. So I would encourage you to grab a blanket or a jumper and some socks. Put any warmer layers on. And once you have, start with the feet on the ground and the knees bent, semi-supine. And then only if it feels comfy to do so, taking the legs out straight, so come into full shavasana. And when you do, we're trying to encourage a sense of evenness between the body. So we know our bodies aren't symmetrical, but it does sense of balance. So a little bit of a gap between the feet, the toes will be pointing out. Palms are facing up to the ceiling, or you can have them on your belly to connect with the breath. So just working the way you can this morning. I'm going to sit up so I can talk you through that. Making any final adjustments you know you need to. Just any sort of movements of the hands, the feet. Finding that perfect position to come into stillness. Using the breath as an anchor. So we won't be doing any breath work at this point, just noticing the breath, following the breath, feeling the breath. Bringing your attention to your toes and feet. If you're in full shavasana, allowing them to gently turn out to the sides, to flop out to the sides. Coming up through the back, the calf muscles, the back of the knees and the kneecaps. A sense of softening, melting. Up to the thighs and the quads, which have worked quite hard this morning. Allowing them to fall heavy and to sink into the ground. Coming up to the hips, pelvis, the glutes. A sense of letting go, releasing any tightness, tension. Softening of the belly to allow the belly to rise and fall with the breath. And a softness in the rib cage. Coming up to the shoulders, allowing them to sink into the mat, to the floor. The arms and the hands to feel heavy. The tongue to drop into the bottom part of the mouth and the jaw to soften. Sense of lightness, softness in the face and facial muscles, all the way up to the crown of the head. Surrendering to shavasana, relaxation.
So knowing you can stay where you are in Shavasana and relaxation. Take a little more time if you want to. If you feel you're ready to come up to sitting, just making some small movements to begin with. So wiggling fingers and toes, rotating wrists and ankles. Maybe taking a stretch overhead, reaching from the fingertips or stretching through the fingertips all the way down to the toes. Gently giving the knees one last hug. And taking your time to roll onto the right hand side, leaving some space for the heart. Taking a moment there before you come up to sitting, gently pushing yourself up to sitting. And either sitting cross-legged or kneeling, maybe sitting in a chair, whatever feels comfortable this morning. Just for the last few moments, find that length in the spine. Openness in the chest we've created. And take a moment to notice how you feel. How the breath is. And the mind. Bringing the hands together at heart center, so joining both halves of the body together. Thanking yourself for practicing yoga this morning. I'm going to bring my hands up to my forehead to remind us to have kind thoughts, to my lips to remind us to have kind words, and back down to my heart center to remind us to have kind actions. Namaste.